can we go on, or I don't think we're
Very good.
recording
So
at
anyway,
this particular
so
point in
I'll need
time.
to get, signed forms from you sometime this week.
Yeah, they just come
So-
by.
No, we're recording still.
Bridget, are we still recording and live and all set?
We are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she had to switch screens. I think she was on that one behind us.
Well, she came out and asked if we could adjourn.
Well, that's because we all started talking
Yeah.
and Mark kinda stood up and it was
Okay,
a little bit.
we have a consent agenda, so let me go over it before we, and see if there are any holds. The select board minutes, for the meeting December 4th, December 18th, I believe we were all there. We have an appointment, Marjorie Ondine, Economic Development Member, expires 6/30/2024. And we have 2 resignations. Joanne Cormier, Quabbin Regional School Department, School Committee Member, effective January 3rd, 2024, and David Marsh, Open Space Committee Member, effective January 4th, 2024, and David Marsh, Agricultural Committee Member, effective January 4th, 2024. Are there any holds or any questions on any of those items before we have a motion to accept the
For
approve
the
it?
good of the order, Mrs. Ondine does have the support of the chair and the committee.
Okay, did everybody get that? Alright, are there any holds or questions, any discussion?
Just,
Yep, go ahead.
just on the, school committee, so she resigned, is anybody in line for that one, or?
No.
I spoke with the chair today, tomorrow I spoke with legal counsel last week and asked if it was legal for us to float considering, what's his name, Mr. Anzola from last time, the second place candidate, and they said, no, we have to redo the whole process. So tomorrow I will post it. The chair, Alfonso.
I was like, Ansel.
Alfonso.
I'll do that.
Wait a minute,
The
that
chair
doesn't
has
right.
noted that the February 5th meeting is going to be relatively packed already, so we're aiming for the second meeting in February to have the joint meeting with the chair. I'll give people about 3 weeks to apply. I will also let the candidates from last time know about this new opportunity. And we'll do it the same way as last time, where the school committee will be invited, we'll vote, it'll be a relatively quick
Excellent, thank you.
actual thing.
Alright, I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
As presented, motion made, can we have, is there a second?
Second.
And second, any questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Abstain.
I'm sorry, which one was you at? I'm sorry, I thought you were, oh, my bad, sorry. With one abstention. We'll move on to new business.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
The EV charging station grant opinion discussion, I'll turn it over to Nate, just to give you some background.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Long and short here, I am bringing this up in the name of salvaging time. Should we apply and utilize my time and Tricia's time and the people from the company only for us to receive a grant, come to the select board and have it turned down? So I figured a positive way to deal with this was to have a open discussion regarding the opportunity and hold a informal straw poll vote. If any of the Parks Commission members would have attended this evening, as they were invited, I would have asked that the chair also allow them to vote. So
Did they say anything or respond at all?
So
when-
Jessie was nervous about parking,
Yes.
and Sanda said she wasn't against it, but did have some questions. She was hoping to come, but it seems as if
She could.
she couldn't make it.
Cause yeah, that's, my questions are parking, how is the electrical getting there? And how much is this really gonna cost us in the long run? Because just cause it's free now,
Right.
it's not gonna be free, cause you have to pay for the software updates.
Back up the bus,
and it-
what's free? What is free?
The actual installation of this EV charging
Well,
station.
Can I go back
Oh,
and explain
sorry.
from the beginning? So, for the good of the order, while I was looking around for grants, I kinda get click heavy about information. I'll click give me information on quite literally anything. So I was working my way through Google searches and looking on the internet for different grant opportunities, and I ran into an opportunity to have a company provide a grant of approximately $400,000 for 2 electric vehicle charging stations if you had a spot that worked for them. I clicked interested and they emailed me and we spoke back and forth about the Curtis Rec Field. They looked into it further and found that there was the appropriate level of electricity. I'm not a electrical engineer, so I do
On
not.
the street.
Yeah, from the street.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
oh,
what-
okay, alright.
Yeah.
It's like,
And that it would be a feasible spot. Something I do want noted in this opinion discussion is that if we move forward with this, it doesn't necessarily mean it would be this company, like in only this company. What they are saying as of this moment is what was in the packet, is it would be a no-cost operation to us. It would be run from the company on 5-year contracts. It would be fixed by them, paid for by the consumer, and the town would make a small percentage of that. Their estimate was that we would make approximately $10,000 annually, give or take, as we do not know exactly how many electric vehicle drivers would
Yeah.
utilize the space.
May I
Yep.
comment? I mean, how do they know, I mean, is that with it running 24 hours a day? Is it charging 2 cars a day or 20 cars a week? How do they know?
So we are very early in this. I have not
Okay.
taken and put a ton of time into this.
Okay, so it's
I'm
projected.
probably
to
about
make
an
10
hour,
grand.
I'm probably about an hour and a half into this at this point, but I did not want to put the time on our end or their end if this was not a project that we weren't interested in. There's going to be plenty of opportunities, and some of them we're gonna be interested in as a community, others we are not going to be interested. I just need the guidance from the board right now on if this is something that if we got, we would likely accept. It doesn't need to be a hard yes, there can be asterisks, I just would like the guidance to not waste my own time, staff time, or the time of anybody that works for a company, that this company or another electric
And this
company.
is not going to be a formal vote, he's just asking
Yeah.
to
Alright.
get our feeling for this, do we wanna
Okay.
go ahead?
I don't like it.
Look into it, if not, he won't,
Yeah.
but there's no formal vote.
I'm not
needed.
for it, so.
So,
I just think with this, right now, they'll pay for it for 5 years. After 5 years,
Yeah.
what happens?
Not to be trusted.
There's software updates, there's, the thing breaks, there's, something's malfunctioning, like how,
Those are questions we would have the ability to ask as we got closer. Like I keep kind of harping on, I didn't wanna waste too much
Yep.
of their time.
Right.
So as of right now, I've got from them, we would pay for that as long as you, the town, are in a contract. And they would obviously want us to re-up our contract after the initial 5 years. But we would
but
learn.
that would have a fee after the 5 years.
The fee, they said it was $1,500
For the town pays?
for the town to pay
So
after
why are
the
we
first
paying
5
out
years.
money if it's free? That's
Well,
what-
the first 5 years,
For the first 5 years
it's
are free.
free.
And then after that,
That
it's
would
1,500
be
a year annually?
contract.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I don't agree with that. I mean, me personally, why should we be paying them so they can put something in town property that they profit off of? Why should we be paying them?
And we likely may be able to negotiate that.
if I might jump in, okay, cause these are very good questions, but if, as a board, so I sense you two right now are kind of against it.
Mhm.
Point I'm making is, if we aren't curious about the answer to these questions as a board, it just stops here anyway, so
Yeah.
it becomes a moot point as a
Oh, okay, I
So
follow you.
Okay, so,
Yep.
And Mr.
two of you
Chair,
right now.
Heather does
Chris, do you
have
have
her
any
hand up.
feelings on this one, Wade?
I'll let Heather go.
Heather, how do you feel about this?
So I guess my only question would be, Nate,
and I don't know the direct answer to this, and I don't know if you do as well, do either. Is there any possibility or plausibility that moving forward with something like this would put us in a better position for future grants relative to energy or conservation? You know, some of them say, well, if you have this, you get more points on the application or so forth.
It
Is there
is,
anything you know of that would put us in a good position if we
it is
move
very
forward with
likely
something
we
like
could
this?
get, it is very likely we could get green community incentive points for something like this. Additionally, you heard it here first, I told Katie first because I was excited about it. At 6:38, we found out that we did receive that green community grant for a little under $200,000 to put in heat pumps.
Nice.
So,
At
so
the
that's good.
at the library.
At the library.
200,000 for heat pumps?
Yeah.
At the library.
There's a large electrical component to it.
Yeah, it's,
That's
those are some big areas.
this is a trailer for the next meeting, but there are incentives to do green projects.
Okay.
Okay, and then I guess my other question is, so not understanding anything about these charging stations, because I haven't been involved with any of them in the past. So if we move forward, you know, the first 5 years are free, are we under a proprietary contract where we have to continue with them moving forward those next 5 years? Like,
No,
to
we
Katie's point, the software, is that like a specific heating system, you know, like Johnson Controls or something that's on the wall and we're stuck with it?
No, I asked them that point blank. They said we could pick another provider.
So you can shop around.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, let's say in 5 years, electric vehicles are blowing up too frequently and no one wants them anymore. So we don't need the EV charging station, or, you know, some other reason happens. Is that something, you know, just like with solar panels, how does that work? Like, is that something they would remove, or we would then have to pay to have removed, or?
I'd be willing to bet there is some type of decommissioning language within the contract.
Just like a cell
At
tower.
this point, we don't have a contract. That's not a question I asked. We're not there yet, but I would hope that there would be some sort of decommissioning language.
Okay, and last question I would have is, do we know of any other communities who have worked with this company to move forward with this, and that they're either in the midst of their contract or they're already at the 5 years, that we could get feedback from them on whether they would do it again?
I did not do that level of research, because as I was stating, this, if the interest was there, I would go and look at more companies as well and get that kind of feedback from different municipalities that have worked with these types of projects before. But I didn't do that yet because I did not have any sort of marching orders from the select board, and I didn't feel 100% that if I put my efforts into it, that it would be accepted should they come to fruition.
Once
Okay, and then
again,
my last question, Nate, is, do we have an idea, with excise tax, how many vehicles owned by our residents in town are electric vehicles?
I can get you that number.
again, Heather, if we as a board, like say 3 of us say we're not interested in it, all these questions become, you know, moot. Questions you're asking right now would be, in my opinion, for Nate to research it all,
Yep.
saying we're interested. But that's what we need to find out. Are we interested? If not, we don't have to
I don't
worry about all this information.
I don't think the technology's there yet.
Well, I know
for
you
this.
two are.
But even if you're a
negative.
resident, wouldn't you have the
Your
plug at
own in your
home?
garage, yes.
You
Exactly.
wouldn't rely on the rec field, it would be more like somebody passing through.
Out of town, Route 2,
Or people who are at a game or, you know,
If they're, if something died
I
or
don't see a
something.
lot of
plug
electric
the car
vehicles.
in while the game's being
Additionally, our hands aren't being forced.
Yeah.
We could
Yeah.
put this on the back burner and
Yeah.
say, hey, we're gonna think about it for
Yeah.
3 meetings and, or however long
See where it
you
goes.
see appropriate. But until, and I'm gonna do this with other things in the future, cause I
Yeah.
think it's an appropriate way to go about
Yeah.
things. But all I want is some marching orders, cause I don't
Right.
want to
Where's
waste any
Chris
time.
at?
Chris, well, Heather, where are you at then? Are you in favor or what?
So I think it's always a good idea to be able to research things. I just I always get nervous that we miss an opportunity, like a lot of communities did over the years with the rail trail. You know, a lot of opportunity. It's always one of those things, right? People now look back and say, oh man, I wish we did that, and you know, they struggle to get back into it. So it's just making sure we're not missing an opportunity, but to Nate's point, there's no rush to absolutely have to do it now. So, you know, he's got other projects he's working on. You know, he can keep his ears out, listen to what's going on with other communities, and we can come back to this when we have less busy things on our docket, and then we'll be able to figure out if that makes sense at that point. But I think it's something to keep in mind, but no need to rush into it.
Okay, Chris, how about you?
I'm really on the fence. I mean, I can go either way. I would, you know, obviously, I think we've got bigger fish to fry here. I read some emails about the school that made me a little bit concerned. It's gonna take up a lot of, Nate's time going forward. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not a huge electric car person. But, you know, it would be a nice place to have a couple charging stations. I certainly don't wanna have any skin in the game. I assume this is something that people would have to pay for on their card or something. It wouldn't be something, you know, that we'd have to maintain or pay for in any way, shape, or form. And then after a 5-year contract, we decide it's not working out for us, we can remove them. So I would agree with Heather's opinion to take no action on this, maybe do a little more research if it's not gonna take up too much of your time about these questions that people asked, and revisit this down the road.
Okay. I would go along with that too, so I would basically say, you know, put it on the back burner and.
Yep, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to tell this gentleman that we are not interested right now and to reach out in, say, 6 months.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean,
After town meeting.
they could come out in a year and say, I mean, the auto manufacturers are already saying that batteries just,
Ford just stopped making their electric trucks.
And
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
so,
I saw that.
You can't, it's just, they don't work in the cold,
Yeah.
it's just,
it's difficult.
yeah.
It's, yeah.
You
But
think it-
politics aside, I like that strategy, Nate. Let's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
let's
I
go.
mean, you have to research things.
Yeah, 'cause I don't have, if I'm being completely honest, an opinion either way.
Yeah.
I saw it as, hey, I would really like to get a $400,000 grant.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
so-
yeah, if you can get something for free,
Yeah.
yes, but,
Nothing's free.
yeah, I know, nothing's truly ever free, but
Correct.
if, yeah,
There's little wording somewhere.
yeah.
Okay, moving along, to item B, to acceptance, signature authorization that we would give to Nate, for the mega grant of $2,000. Nate, you wanna fill us in on that?
Mega is
Big?
our insurance company. It's huge.
Massachusetts, enormous, gigantic.
Yeah.
Asshole.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I forgot I was on video.
You're on camera.
Audio.
The Mass Education Government Association, MEGA, is a large-scale insurance company that does insurance covering for a lot of Massachusetts. We do our insurance with the Berry Group, but their umbrella organization on a lot of our coverage is MEGA. So we received this opportunity to apply for a grant to aid in training of staff members and being able to create additional opportunities for staff members to get trained and to create additional open transparency and dialogue with the community as a whole. I applied for a meeting camera that follows you around and a bunch of televisions and a meal for our staff members. They cut the request down from 5,000 to 2,000, which is still very nice of them. So I would like to purchase the camera to increase our ability to interact with the public from home. Heather picked the wrong time to have a couple meetings on from virtual attendance, because it's gonna be way cooler in the future if we go this route. And we would probably go with getting a training opportunity for the staff with a meal, and that would be the $2,000. It is a reimbursable grant. We would pay it up front, show them the receipts, and then they would give it back.
Okay.
It's relatively quick. I did this in Princeton. We bought a bunch of plants because plants are clearly cool. We have more plants in this building than we've ever had before, but the money came in pretty quick. Any questions?
So, I asked you earlier about this camera or whatever, what's it, sit on the table and just somebody speaks, it turns to you?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's gonna be
Okay.
so distracting. I'd be like, staring at it.
Camera will be on you all the
I
time.
know, it's staring
I'm
at
gonna
it.
have to muzzle myself.
It
I know, I won't be able to like say little things under my breath
It will
anymore.
additionally allow us to live stream to social if we chose to do
Really?
that. Yep, and that
Okay.
is something that a number of communities are choosing to do. A number of communities are also choosing not to do it. But I think that with a lot of the community utilizing Facebook more than other social media applications, it wouldn't be a bad thing for us to do to get information straight to the source in a way that's decent looking and not just me recording and Gobi from my cell phone.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, go your motion.
Alright, we're gonna read this so much better this time. Where are we? Yep. I move to authorize the town administrator to sign and accept the $2,000 mega grant for technology upgrades on behalf of the town.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made in second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes, opposed? Sorry, Heather,
She
what
said aye.
did she say?
She said aye.
Okay.
That was an aye,
Alright,
yes.
opposed? Motion passed.
They're lucky they didn't go with the 5,000 cause I had requested 2 90-inch TVs with stands. I was gonna have town meeting looking like a mega church.
That's
Oh,
cool.
God.
Like,
Super Bowl party.
yeah.
Gotta get with the
Thanks, Joe.
times, right, Nate? You gotta get with it.
Excuse me.
But we didn't get that.
Okay, next,
You can always go beg Walmart to pony some up.
next we have the cultural council grant of $6,600, which is an annual, if you would.
So this is an annual grant that the Cultural Council applies for every year. It is usually received by most communities. It is not a ton of money, but it does wonderful things. The concert in the park that Katie has thrown was funded through the Cultural Council grant. Do you know any?
Yes,
other
there's a whole bunch
projects
of
off the top
them.
of
So
your
there
head?
was a bunch of stuff at the field day last year.
Yeah.
They had their band and they had the pottery guy,
There's
the-
usually some library stuff involved.
yes, there's usually libraries,
couple
there's
things,
paintings.
painting and,
There was the Elvis impersonator over here at the senior center.
I think they do stuff at the Ware River watershed, have
Yeah, they
tours
do,
sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah, they
They do
split it
lots
up
of
as.
stuff.
Yeah, it goes with a bunch of different
Yeah.
things.
For what it is, it goes a long way.
Yep.
And it's a great use of $6,600. I congratulate Jonathan Brinker and the Cultural Council on another successful receipt of the Cultural Council grant.
Excellent.
So we're looking for another motion then for you to
Yep, just to authorize acceptance.
authorize you to,
Except the,
Yep.
alright, I'm gonna authorize, let's read it this way without just, we'll
it's not
substitute.
written out.
That's okay. I move, to authorize town, well, do you have to sign anything, or just accept?
Just accept it.
You?
Yep.
Okay, I authorize the town administrator to accept the $6,600 cultural council grant on behalf of the town of Hubbardston.
Okay, motion made,
No, there's,
Second.
it's one
And
digital
second,
signature.
any discussion?
I don't believe anyone's asked in
seeing
the
none,
past.
all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Opposed, seeing none, motion carried. Okay, next item, also which would be looking for the similar kind of a motion. The, item 3, 2024 legislative and budget priorities. Nate, go ahead.
I've been sending out emails for about the last month or so, just asking for additions to the legislative and budget priorities for the town to send to Representative Berthium and Senator Durant, who will be attending your next meeting to take part in a open forum, much like we did with Director Goby in the past. I have invited the community via the town website and Facebook, and will do so 1 or 2 more times in the next 2 weeks. This letter would be like we did last year. I'm uncertain if we did this kind of initiative or correspondence before I got here, but when I worked in the state senate, the kind of towns that wrote it out were the towns that when an opportunity came up, I had an easier time just going, what did Gardner say? And then when you can look it up, it's easier to just grab something quick, and sometimes you need to. So these type of letters help because they just file them. A lot of times it doesn't get us anything, but in the off chance that it does, it's nice to have.
Any questions on this? Okay, if we could have a motion, Alexa.
To authorize him
Sign for the,
to sign it?
well, no,
To send it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. On behalf of the,
on behalf of the town.
Alright, I'm just gonna wing it.
yeah.
I would like to make a motion to authorize, our town administrator to send correspondence to Mr. Berthium and Mr. Durant on behalf of the town, begging for more money.
It's not just money, there's also,
And other opportunities for our town to be better.
there's also reform
Take the
and,
word begging out of the motion.
and
I
a,
like the begging, come on, I will beg all day long for more money for the town.
As a formal motion, okay, motion's made, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I put one specifically for you in there, the one Hunter did his project on.
Seeing none, alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes,
Aye.
opposed, motion passed.
Maybe they'll bring a boiler with them when they come.
It's on there.
Yeah, it's on there, there's all kinds of good stuff on there, I was like.
Excuse me. Okay, old business, the ARPA,
Yeah, Mr. Chair, can I give an update on that?
yes, please.
I had just recently heard the other day from the gentleman that we reached out to do a feasibility study for the public safety building cost and study. I have that number now, so I'm hoping that between now and the 2nd, I can put everything together, everything being the last 2 TEC bills, the MassDOT bills, there was a $5,000 remaining invoice for something the police had purchased with ARPA money that was not included in a past revision of the ARPA money because Ryan hadn't mentioned it, but we know now. And there are just a bunch of loose ends that will be tied up with the commitment of ARPA one final time. I'm hoping that we can involve the finance committee in this in some way, shape, or form to alleviate some of the burden on ARPA for both the $40,000 MassDOT project and a couple of other things. With us hearing word moments ago that we did receive the grant for the heating pumps, there is a $15,000 match as part of that grant that was originally committed to the library trustees, but now it is up in the air because the library trustees have paid for the boiler. And I know that they had money for one or the other, but not both. So that's something I'll look into over the next 2 weeks, but I hope on February 5th to have a update for you guys.
Okay. Any questions or anything on that? Alright, thank you. We'll go to the TA report, if you would, Nate.
Yeah. So I will start with the compensation survey. I'm not going to do a long-winded presentation on this or anything like that. I put a lot of time into this compensation survey because it is valuable. Right now, where we stand, there likely isn't going to be the opportunity to take even baby steps towards step one. but within the confines of my proposed budget in a month and a half, I will do my best as different variables come to light, with that being the school and retirement, to try to implement some of these smaller scale increases. Within the document, it outlines that we are truly losing out during these 5 to 7 year turnover periods where there's a complete staff-wide reset. It's expensive for the town for training and for hiring, and new people usually want more than the old people. So please take a moment to read that. It was on my goals, so I completed it. It was a test for myself as well, and I'm very happy that I was able to complete that. I thank the towns that helped me with it, Tony for doing some of the data digging, and the Collins Center for sending me a lot of documents that they probably shouldn't have. So, but please take a moment to read that and know that the investments we make into staff will pay dividends in the future. But with that, I do understand that times are tough, but that does not mean it shouldn't be stated out loud that a COLA, while being a good thing, is not a raise. And we are not brutally underpaying staff like we once were, but you have to take small steps to keep up with everyone around us, and that is all outlined in that report. Any questions before I go into the other portions of the TA report?
Any questions from anyone, or comments? Okay, go ahead.
Alright. No, that's that. I have too many reports.
Tabs, yeah, I know,
Right.
too many memos.
So over the last couple weeks, quite literally everyone was sick. So I hope those that are now getting better they stay better, whether it be COVID, RSV, stomach bug, the 2-month cough that some people have been getting. I hope everyone's beginning to feel better. On last Friday, I went to the Mass Municipal Association's MMA annual meeting. It was a great time being able to network with many municipal professionals and elected officials from all over the state. One of the things that really stuck out to me outside of training and networking was a speech given by Governor Healy, where she outlined what is now being called the Municipal Empowerment Act. For all intents and purposes, it is Municipal Modernization 2 from the Baker administration. It does look to solve some problems with OPEB liability funding and procurement, but it also takes it makes an effort to solve financial issues by placing the burden on local officials. It gives the opportunity to raise excise tax, meals tax, and hotels tax in communities where those are applicable by upwards of 5% based on a local option. I don't see that being favorable at neither the select board level nor the town meeting level, so I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the help the governor would think it would be for a town such as Hubbardston, but I look forward to hearing more as this goes through the legislature and potentially comes out the other end, because our legislative delegation's going to have the opportunity to do their best to change this up, and so we'll see what comes out the other side. Any questions on that, without getting too far into politics?
Okay.
Well,
Alright.
maybe our next meeting, we can ask them their thoughts on that.
Who, the governor?
No,
Oh, yeah,
our representative and our senator.
Yeah. Earlier this month, we released the Q2 financial report. It's available on the town website. We are on track, slightly lagging in revenue, but it's nothing to write home about quite yet, because we do get the lion's share of our revenue in Q3 when excise tax hits and people come and pay their latter year bills. I am anticipating the governor's House 1 budget proposal on Wednesday. She has committed 3% increase to UGA, unlimited government aid. UGA. Right, Heather? UGA?
I got, okay.
No.
That's not good.
Yes,
Yes.
other is what they call it
Okay.
in UGGA, but yeah, unrestricted governmental aid.
Yeah. So, we'll see how that goes. It'll give us a little bit more light, but it does then go into the legislature to go back and forth. On February 5th, we will be having members of our legislative delegation, as I mentioned before, come on down. So those watching at home, please make your way down on February 5th.
That is our select board meeting?
Yep.
It's gonna be a long night. Okay,
It's during your select board.
yeah, I
meeting.
know, that's gonna be, do we have anything else on the agenda or just
Yeah,
the?
bring a meal.
It's the primary thing,
My capital plan.
depending upon the turnout and the questions.
Yeah.
It's a hearing, really,
Yeah.
that will be.
Yeah, I mean, if you go judge off the other one, it's probably we're gonna need that room over there,
Yeah.
right?
possible.
Potentially, right now, we have 3 people confirmed.
That's it?
So, yeah, but it was the third time we sent it out with the Angobi thing that
Yeah.
people.
Get closer,
Yeah.
get closer.
Yeah.
So there will be invitations to that as we get closer. I'm anticipating the Gardner Road easement will be on your next meeting. I'm going back and forth with Rutland about that. They are going to put it on their select board meeting first, because there is a bond payment for a proper decommissioning involved in this.
It's for the tower.
That's for the tower
Yeah.
on Gardner Road.
Right.
I'm uncertain as to why this wasn't done before, and it is mind-blowing, but we're
This whole
doing it.
project has been mind-blowing for
Yeah.
how many years?
10,
Which
isn't it?
is probably why it
least.
wasn't, because there was so many years going by, and probably just an item that just,
It's just a mess.
yeah,
It has been since day one, it's
Yeah.
only, it's because of one person
a
said
lot of
that to help.
headaches, a lot of headaches.
So
Anyway, sorry.
that'll be coming up. It won't be a controversial vote, but it'll get the ball moving forward so that we can send out the RFP to get commercial carriers onto the tower. My
Who's
s-
gonna pay the bond?
The town of Rutland.
Okay, just making sure. Alright,
That's the point of contention right now, is if the town of Rutland has to pay a bond.
okay.
Legal counsel says yes, but
Yeah, I mean, they reap all the benefits of that tower, so why shouldn't they?
staff, including myself, have been working on a comprehensive review of municipal fees, permits, licenses, and fines. I am looking forward to presenting this to you at a later meeting. I still have a lot of cooking to do with that project, because there are not many opportunities to create substantial revenue here, and we learned that through doing this exercise. The planning board stands to create more revenue through changing their fees than the select board and or board of health or anyone else really does. Cause the fees on a select board level would really just be, do you wanna change your alcohol licenses and affect 3 companies? Like, so that $500 really wouldn't affect the community as much as it would burn a bridge with a couple of good business owners. So that's where I'm kinda getting stuck on this project, because I really did hope and think that there was gonna be some more revenue potential in the fees, so that'll come forward at a meeting. If at any point I come to the conclusion that at least on a select board level, there's not too much to accomplish, I'll bring forward my data. recently met with the new owners of what we refer to as the Marinelli property. I am excited to work with this gentleman. He seems willing to want to work with the town, both on the select board and on the planning board level. He is currently working with an engineer to come up with plans on what he sees feasible and what he is willing to do. He's a local business owner. He owns a couple of, call them like, what do you call a whole little area of shops?
Strip mall.
Yeah, he kinda, but, and the one in Princeton, he owns that, as you're going into Holden. So I look forward to working with him. He is interested in coming forward sooner rather than later to talk about the easement issues and contamination of the land owned by the town and ways we could work together to solve that. People watching at home should take the time to sign up for Hubbardston's First Citizens Academy. There is information on the website. You will take an 8-week course on all things Hubbardston and all things municipal government. I look forward to that. Please take a moment to sign up because we have decided that if we don't at least get 6 people, we won't do it this year.
When's
So,
it start?
February 26th.
Okay, so they still have plenty of time to sign up.
Has anybody signed up yet?
A couple of people have signed up, but we said if we
So it's
don't,
called the Citizens Academy?
Yeah. we said if we don't get 6 and, or if we get more than 18, we'll reevaluate.
And who
then too.
teaches this?
Everybody, so it would be myself, Candace, the chiefs,
Okay.
Open Space is going to come in.
Everybody takes a week.
Everybody takes a week.
Is it on TV, online or?
We're going to record it, yep, so that we don't have to do it every year.
Okay.
And the
Fun stuff, come on.
The goal here is to educate in an attempt to increase involvement. Like, there's going to be a heavy, hey, look at all of the open committees you could do, or you
Yeah.
could run for office
Yeah.
component of this as
Yeah.
well. A number of communities have done this. Tricia, the land use clerk who does special projects with my office, has taken point on this, so that it is, I look forward to it.
But this could be for teenagers as well,
Yeah.
correct? Like, so if there's like a Boy Scout that needs certain requirements, or Girl Scout, or, say somebody is looking into, you know, civics for schooling or
For
something.
the children, we would want to talk to the teenager.
Yeah.
Because a mature 16
Yes.
or 17-year-old that can sit and would actually learn from the opportunity, absolutely.
Yeah.
But a 12-year-old that mom is signing them up and they don't wanna sit still,
Yes.
it would
That
not
would be
be a
different.
babysitting.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then there's that. The census is out. So everybody take your, do your civic duty and fill that out.
Already did.
Yeah, me too.
There is a recycling and trash opportunities survey in there, because as you know, I've been working with Princeton and Rutland to look at ways we can work together to make trash cheaper for residents and or create opportunities for recycling. I'm excited to see where that goes.
Oh yeah, I already got yelled about that survey twice now. I was like, it's a survey, just take it.
Yeah. Can we need to hurry that up, 'cause I had problems again with my trash people, again.
Yeah. No, I just mean I get yelled at. Oh, don't ask.
What was the-
Don't even ask. Don't even ask.
Well,
I was-
you can't,
It's just like,
you're
come
holding
on.
us over a cliff now.
I know.
You gotta let it out.
Because it was pink.
No, no, no. What do you want us to do? Truck our trash to the next town over? That's unrealistic, and yeah.
Nope,
And I was
that
like,
isn't.
then fill it out that way. Then say that. You know, whatever. Just
Yep, there's
say
no-
what you think.
No commitments.
That's the point.
No anything.
Yeah. There's a couple others too, but I was just like, let it go. Just, it's okay.
I'd be all for that. Nice Saturday morning drive, coffee, smoke.
Recycling could potentially look like that, but that would be better than the current recycling opportunity that they have
Yeah.
in Hubbardston,
Yeah.
which is none.
Well, yeah. there's-
And the only trash opportunity we would consider would be going to your home and
I
having.
mean, have they ever done a feasibility study here on a transfer station?
that's part of this,
It
could
is.
potentially be.
For in town, no, we got the land there, I mean,
The other two communities sort of poo-pooed that idea
Really?
when I tried to bring it up, yeah. Cause if you really think about it, Rutland is the center of that, and people who live on, one second, Heather. People who live on the Leominster side of Princeton are not gonna wanna drive to the Templeton side of Hubbardston, so it is what it is. Yes, Heather?
I was just gonna add to that a lot of transfer stations end up in the red, cause they usually operate as an enterprise fund, similar to like a water or sewer department.
yeah,
And you have to have fees high enough to be able to sustain them, and you also have to deal with DEP and all kinds of rules and regulations.
yeah.
And if you ever wanna know, Peter, about some, potential nightmare things, radioactive stuff getting dumped,
Oh, yeah,
well,
so you, once
it-
once it's
it-
dumped, you own
it's more
it,
than we want,
right,
yeah, so.
Most
It's
of
a
our,
great idea, but it's,
Yeah.
if someone has one and it's working, that's awesome, but to start a new one at this day and age, it's not always the best idea.
yeah, so a lot has changed since, transfer stations came out, basically.
and keep in mind, most of our water, most of our land is near
Well,
like watersheds and
yeah.
stuff, so.
Thank you for
Let's
that,
not
Heather.
do that.
Yeah,
So, it's just a survey.
Yeah.
yeah.
Survey people.
I filled it out today,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just fill it out, answer what you will, you
Yeah.
know?
Jeff and I attended the retirement reception of Bob Beauregard from the Country Hen. He's a very nice gentleman who spent years working with the town on various activities, including the Country Hen Scholarship. It was a great event and we had fun. Jeff presented Mr. Beauregard with a certificate on behalf of the select board, as well as Katie bringing him a small token of her appreciation with some Hubbardston swag included.
Yeah, he'd been working there for 28 years. He goes back to those of you who know the name George Bass. He actually worked with George and was instrumental in when George wanted to, let the company go. Cause he was the first general manager of the place that George was happy about, so.
Yeah, Bob always went out of his way to make sure he helped everybody in the town, you know, with eggs and this and
Yeah,
that, and,
that's-
yeah.
I mentioned the partnership between them and the town was much appreciated, yep.
Alright, further, I'm gonna bring this up. Maybe I'm not.
Just thinking about it.
It is thinking about it. Cause Heather didn't show up when she was talking either. So I would like to thank Chris Barbera, who spent most of her weekend looking like this.
Freezing.
Freezing and wearing a winter cap and gloves. She went to the library to put up heaters and check temperatures with this thermal gun, and spent her entire weekend really focused on the fact that the boiler had failed at the library. I think we owe Chris a note of gratitude at the very, very least. That project is being worked on at this time. We received emergency procurement clearance, and I hope we don't have to deal with that for another 30 years.
Yeah. When's the boiler actually gonna be up and running?
We
Thank
don't think we're gonna be open over there this week,
Okay.
but maybe Thursday.
Well,
They-
just up and running, cause at least
Yeah,
they'll start,
yeah,
he's gonna have
they're-
to reheat the whole building.
It'll be ready for the weekend.
Yeah, they're saying their estimate was Thursday.
Yeah.
And that was $23,000, 23,700 to be precise. That is being paid by the library trustees. And we will have to figure out some other things a little bit later, possibly as part of ARPA.
Nothing's frozen yet, right?
Nope, nothing's frozen. I did close the offices in the basement because it was just over 40 this morning.
Oh.
Balmy.
And so I gave them the opportunity to either work over here
Yeah, or go home.
or work from home.
Yeah.
They all chose different parts.
Okay.
And that is all. Any questions on anything going on?
you very much. We'll move to item 9, policies to review select board rules. Nate?
Alright, so we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, ever since a question from Mike had me go and look back at the select board rules, realizing that we hadn't updated them in a while. As I noted in, I believe, the attached letter, the select board rules do fall under the fact that the meeting is the chair's, but it is an agreement between the select board to run the meeting in a certain fashion. I proposed, I believe, 3 amendments. Does anyone have any questions? We can also read them into the record if.
You should probably read them in the record, just.
Alright.
I have them too. So.
Suggested Amendment 1 would update terminology, replacing Board of Selectmen with Select Board, replacing Select Man/men with Select Board members, and replacing Chairman with Chair throughout the policy. Suggested Amendment 2 would replace the entire order of business section with a more detailed agenda order, including separation of consent agenda items that could be approved together without discussion unless requested by a board member. It goes under order of business, and then bulleted, order of business, call to order, open session, announcements/proclamations, presentation/public hearing, consent agenda with a consent agenda sub-bullet with asterisks next to them, and the asterisks stand for all consent agenda items are subject to being removed for a separate discussion at the request of select board members. Consent agenda sub-items are appointments and resignations, wage authorizations, minutes, additional administrative issues deemed non-controversial. And new business, old business, town administrator report, committee updates, matters not reasonably anticipated, public/press questions and answers, executive sessions, adjournment. Suggested amendment number 3 would replace the select board action on items section to detail the orderly process for introduction, questions, public input, discussion, possible amendments, and voting on agenda items. The following procedures will be used for the orderly transaction of business. At the recognition of the chair, the town administrator or sponsor of the item introduces and explains the item. Sponsor, town administrator, staff, or others as designated by the sponsor or town administrator provide additional explanation or information. Any select board member may make a motion or may second the motion. Select board questions, no discussion at this time. Public input with an asterisk. Pursuant to the asterisk meaning pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 20G, the chair of a public body has discretion to decide whether to allow public comment during a meeting, impose restrictions like designating when comments are permitted, limiting time allotted to each speaker, preventing disruption of others, and removing non-compliant speakers. Next bullet, additional questions from select board, not debate. Chair recites motion if already made or looks for a motion. Select board discussion. Amendments to motion, optional, and debate. Vote on motion as amended if applicable. The passage, adoption, or enactment of any item requires 3 votes, a clear majority for passage. In the case of a tie vote, the motion fails. As always, these are just suggestions.
I have a question on one of them for myself. Chair recites the motion.
It's formal, you don't really
So,
have.
Yeah.
once a motion's been made and second, and there's no more further discussion, you're saying then I should,
Technically, by Robert's Rules of Order,
Read
you
it.
should then be going, the motion on the table is,
But usually if there's, anyone's confused, they say, wait a minute, what are we voting for? Yeah, like, what was the motion again? That's if we get
but
into
the same,
some
in
kind
the
of
same
rabbit hole.
sense, to follow up that particular question, if we, as a board, are comfortable doing it the way we're doing,
Yep.
I have the right to say, let's just keep it that way and not have to
absolutely.
change, which
And
is.
as was discussed
Yeah.
last time, the select board rules as written prior to any amendments at all, with no amendments, were more formal than the actual practice at the meetings. This is it's a policy. Policies are there, and we do our best to
Mhm.
follow them.
No, thank you on that, okay.
Alright, do we need a
Yeah.
proposal?
And no one expects the Hubbardston Select Board to be running like Congress
What?
with.
What? It's formal stuff?
Mr.
Come on, yeah.
Mr. Chair, through you, if there were any questions or comments from Mr. Stoll, it would be appropriate to take them, as he was the resident who brought question to all this.
He's the one that stirred the pot.
So,
Not necessarily a bad thing.
so did you wanna speak, Mike? Go
Yes,
ahead.
Mr. Chair, please, Mike Stahl, 5 Lombard Road. I appreciate the clarifications and the opportunity for the public to give comment. I totally recognize that the chair has to maintain order. But if you review over the last year, 2 years ago to last year, you'll find that public was able to make comments. It didn't take long. Most of the time, there were no comments, and if they were easily addressed. There were no outbursts or long discussions from the public. If it was a public hearing, that's a different story. That's a known potential controversial issue. But just running down the normal agenda, the former chair acknowledged if there was any public comment. Usually there was none. I can go back and give you the statistics. Tonight, I'm not prepared to do that, though. So once again, I want to just summarize, appreciate the opportunity for the public to be able to provide comment on motions that are made, and that fully I understand that the select board and the chair needs to maintain control of the meetings, and I believe that has been done in the past.
And
Thank you.
in my opinion, within the amended proposal, it 100% strengthens the public's ability to put input within the structure of the motion, albeit unless the chair decides that we're not doing this. So I think that's positive.
Alright, we ready for a motion here, people?
Yes, please.
Alright.
Wait a minute, the chair has to recite it.
I move that we adopt the proposed amendments to the select board rules as presented.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, any questions? Seeing, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Alright,
Okay,
should just make him a copy, make me one with the Louis and just call it a day.
item 10, matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I have none. Does anyone have any?
No.
I have one. Do we know the number of students currently attending
Yes.
Montechusett Regional Vocational Technical High School?
No.
Do you wanna know the number of students currently attending Quabbin?
No, thank you.
Okay.
We got Quabbin, not
Can we
mine.
find out that number
Yes.
and get some historical data on that, because I saw an email that made me a little concerned.
Yes.
Anything? Is
And I
something
do
you wanna put
intend-
on the agenda for a meeting? I mean, is it something?
That's one, is it through the legislature? Is that the email you're talking about?
Yeah, well, it had to do with the lottery system for,
Yeah.
for,
Oh,
for
right.
kids going to the school, and, you know,
Basically giving the small town no chance to get in. That's what it
well,
sounded
no
like.
chance, or, you know, we don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lottery, right?
Yeah.
Well, could we find out that number?
Yep,
Yeah.
find out the number, and I do
Yeah.
intend to write a letter in support of what the superintendent was saying, cause that would make it almost impossible to budget. Cause
Yeah,
one year you
right.
have
Right.
no kids and the next year 7 get
Yeah.
pulled and.
Well, if we know how many ping pong balls we got in the machine, right, then we have,
An
we can
idea.
cover our bases, worst case scenario, but if we have no idea, but I'm sure that's recorded somewhere, yeah, so let's just look at that historically.
Okay. Anything else? All right, public press, questions, anything? All right, we will be at this particular time moving into executive session.
Do you want me to read this, or?
Yeah, I'll read it and
Okay.
then,
Mr. Chair, I believe Mike does have a.
oh, Mike,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, Mike Stahl, 5 Lombard Road. Just wondering if you plan on returning to regular session or not.
Only
I'm
to
presuming
adjourn.
not.
only to adjourn, right,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Sometimes you've actually put it in there, that's why I asked
Yeah.
the question. Thank you.
So, we will, need a motion, I'll read
Trouble staying awake tonight.
the motion to move into executive session under general law, chapter 30A, paragraph 21A, item 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body. New England Police Benevolent Association Incorporated, Local 92, and Town of Hubbardston Police Department. So could we have a motion to move into executive session, and again, that we will then come out for the sole, to public again for the sole purpose of adjournment.
Of adjournment, so moved. Do you want me to reread it, or just
we
so
can-
moved
yeah,
is
no,
fine?
very good, so moved is
Okay.
fine.
That's fine. This is a voice, vote, so.
Of course, Peter's in
Peter,
favor.
Second.
okay. It's made and second.
We still have 4.
Quick comment.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, for the good of the order and for Tony, when she's writing this, we are not going to return for those watching at home and for Tony when she writes the minutes. So the only thing that happened after the conclusion of the executive session was the Hubbardston Select Board returned and adjourned.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Alright, this is a voice vote, so, Katie,
Aye.
Chris,
Yes.
Peter,
I don't know what you're voting on.
going into executive
Executive
session.
session.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Heather,
Yes.
and yes, for me.
I'll give 1 second. Bridget?